Hey guys, Kat Com here with Studio Sweat On Demand, and I am here with a very special guest.
Hi.
Everybody, this is Tina. She's actually one of the writers here at Studio Sweat On Demand. And one of the things that Tina actually brought up was that there are times where she cannot stand during a spin class. And we hear this a lot, like, can I take a spin class if I can't stand up? And the answer is
yes, and you should.
Absolutely. So what we want to talk about today are some modifications, some things that you can do when you're taking a spin class and you can't stand. So Tina, why can't you stand?
So I have degenerative disc disease in my low back.
Okay.
And it's forever, but it flares up. Sometimes it feels great. Sometimes today I could probably spin and stand and do all the drills. I can do some drills, sometimes I can't do all of them standing.
Okay, so you take it day by day. Okay, I imagine there are a lot of people out there like that because like I said, we do get this question in often. So you can definitely still take a spin class like we were saying. What are some things that you do to modify when the rest of the group is standing?
So the first thing I think about always is I want to mimic the intensity of the drill.
Okay.
So if we're doing a heavy climb, I want to make sure I'm doing a heavy climb sitting. And get my heart rate to the same level or my perceived exertion to the same level as everyone else or the trainer.
Nice keyword, perceived exertion. Smart. Yeah. How hard is it? Scale 1 to 10.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then, if it's an endurance ride, I want to do my endurance. You kind of just have to mimic what you're trying to accomplish.
Is it sprints? Is it, yeah, exactly. Is it endurance? Is it going to be jumps, for example?
Yeah. And so the main way you're going to do that, standing tends to be a little harder. You're going to either add speed or gear or both.
Yeah. So standing can be harder or it can be easier, to be honest. It really depends on what speed you're going and how heavy your gear is. But like you were saying, if you know that the idea is to increase the intensity when you're standing, then you're going to
add more gear.
Crank the gear, right? Yeah, that's perfect. Because typically though, when you're standing, you got your weight into it, so you've got a little bit more power going on, technically about 40% for the average person. But it might be harder on the lungs. Right? And so anytime you bring your heart further away from the ground, it can be a little harder on the lungs, so you want to increase your heart rate there.
And for me, I find that slower speeds are much easier for me to still do the drill standing.
Yeah.
So a climb, I will typically be able to follow along. At least I might have to be a little slower or a little less gear.
Yeah.
But I can still typically do the climbs. It's when we get, say, over 80, 85 RPMs for me, I can't keep my body I can't keep my body solid enough to protect my back and do higher speeds.
And I think that's pretty common, and that's a good point, and I'm glad that you brought that up. So one of the things too to think about is, can you actually stand and you just don't know it? Because I see people stand often, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna drop Tina's gear, and then I'm gonna ask you to kind of run. You can see like she's got some looseness in her hips. This is not a good stand. Anytime you're standing, you always want to make sure that you've got plenty of gear on, whatever your gear system is, and that you feel the stability of the gear. So now her hips look much more stable. So first, before you decide you can't stand, make sure that you actually can't stand. And I always tell people, resistance over speed. So even if the trainer teaching the class is going 90 RPMs out of the saddle, that doesn't mean you have to. Always err on the side of resistance. Agreed?
And I find that if on a day where I'm not sure if I can stand a lot, I will start by just going heavier, slower.
Yeah, that's smart.
And then you can always gear back, increase your speed. But I do find that it's a good way to test myself.
Absolutely. That's another thing she could do, by the way. If she wanted to increase the intensity, the group was standing up and they were adding gear maybe, she could stay in the saddle and she could add.
Well, so one of my favorite drills or ways of modifying where I get a lot of intensity. And this works especially if you're in a higher speed. When everyone stands, I put a half a gear on or a half a turn. And then I increase by 5 or 10 RPMs also.
Yep, double duty there, right?
And then when they sit, I only take a quarter off. I take half of what I've added off.
Got it.
when they sit and then return to tempo.
Super smart. So yeah, you've got gear, you've got speed. There's one other thing that you can do that a lot of people don't think about if you're trying to increase your heart rate, and that is you can actually just sit up and really start moving those arms, right? Because anytime you start pumping those arms at the same time you're pumping those legs, and you can do wide movements, you can do reaches, you can do punches, stuff like that. That's going to get your heart rate higher as well. So those are, that's just another thing that I think, you know, if you want to have a little bit of fun with it. Do you like this flying around here? Don't take it personally, you smell great. So anything else that you want to add?
So one of the other areas that I tend to modify is jumps. When I can do them, and jumps tend to be in my RPM wheelhouse.
Yeah, typically we do them 60 to 80 RPMs,
But I can't really do a fast jump, like a 2-count jump.
Yeah.
So it's totally okay to modify your timing.
Totally okay.
I do 4 up, 4 down. Sometimes I do 8 even, depending on how I'm feeling. If they're up and hover, maybe can't do that. Maybe do up and down.
If you have a bad back, avoid that drop back position.
And the other is those like the push up.
Yes, and the upper body.
Push up.
Yeah.
And then the drop back. I just lean.
Yeah, shift your weight forward, shift your weight
back. And I do it on a slower count.
Yep, that's super smart. So yeah, basically it's those higher cadences that you typically will try to avoid if you're having trouble standing on the spin bike.
I find that people with knee problems, this happens too. It's not just your back.
Oh, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons. But now you've got some things to think about. Yes, you too can take a spin class if you cannot stand up. You can get a great workout staying right there in the saddle. Tina, thank you for joining me today. Anything else before we go?
That's what I got.
And for those body sculpting, fat torching, cycling workouts, don't forget to check out Studio Sweat on Demand. See you there.